They thought she was the quiet nobody they could humiliate in front of the whole school, until the slap that echoed across the auditorium turned into the moment she exposed every one of them, changed the school forever, and made the world know her name. If you want to know how a single girl turned public humiliation into the most legendary comeback ever, stay till the end, and don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable real-life revenge stories like this one. They say every school has a hierarchy, a silent system of power where the loudest, richest, and most popular rule like royalty, but no one ever warned Emily Hayes that the day she walked into Ridgewood High for the first time, she wouldn't just be stepping into a school, she'd be stepping into a battlefield disguised as a hallway, and the moment she accidentally bumped into Amanda Kingsley, the untouchable queen bee of the school, everything in her life would change, but not in the way anyone expected, because Emily wasn't the frail, scared transfer student everyone thought she was just a girl who had learned all her life how to survive storms without showing the world she knew how to fight back. Emily had just moved from a small town after her mom passed away, forced to live with her estranged father who barely knew how to talk to her, let alone understand her, so she entered Ridgewood High hoping to stay invisible, finish the school year, and never draw attention, but fate had its own script, and sometimes the quiet ones are only quiet because they're gathering all the strength the world once tried to take from them. The first week Emily tried everything to blend in, hoodie up, headphones in, no eye contact, doing what every bullied kid had to learn. Survive by shrinking, but the thing about predators is they always find the smallest one in the herd, and Amanda Kingsley, with her perfectly styled blonde hair, designer bag, and army of followers who laughed at anything she did even when it wasn't funny, didn't like it when someone existed without acknowledging her superiority, and Emily's silence offended her more than if she had rolled her eyes or talked back. It started with whispers. Who is she? Why does she dress like that? Probably poor. Look at her cheap shoes. But Emily ignored them because she had heard worse, lived worse, and no teenage gossip could hurt more than losing a mother who used to call her my strong little wildfire, the nickname that meant everything before life made her feel like ash. But Amanda wasn't satisfied with whispers. She needed a spectacle, something public, something loud, because bullies don't just want victims, they want audiences, and the perfect stage arrived during the school assembly, a full auditorium of 200 students, a microphone, and a moment Amanda believed would go exactly the way she planned. Emily didn't know she had been set up until it was too late. The seating chart, accidentally, placed her next to Amanda. Her name was called on stage for a new student introduction, something the school had never done before. And the moment she walked up there, hands trembling slightly, she noticed the way Amanda smirked from the front row, phone in hand, already recording. Emily introduced herself with a soft voice, nothing special, nothing dramatic, but that was the problem. She didn't entertain them, she didn't look nervous enough, she didn't give Amanda the reaction she wanted, and in that moment, Amanda knew she'd have to push harder. As Emily walked off the stage, Amanda stood, pretending to block her path in a joking way, saying loudly, "Hey, new girl, next time try smiling, might make people like you," and everyone laughed, but Emily just nodded and tried to walk around her, which only infuriated the queen bee further. And that's when it happened. Amanda raised her hand and slapped Emily across the face, so hard the sound cracked through the auditorium like a microphone feedback, and for a split second the room fell silent, not because they cared about Emily, but because no one expected Amanda to actually do it. Not in front of teachers, not in front of cameras, not in front of the whole school. Emily's head turned sharply from the force, her cheek instantly burning red, but she didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't run, she just slowly looked back at Amanda with a calm expression that should have scared everyone in that room, because it wasn't the look of a girl who broke, it was the look of a girl who finally decided she was done being silent. Amanda expected tears, humiliation, collapse, because that's the script every bully depends on. But instead Emily said only one sentence, soft enough to confuse them, powerful enough to haunt them later. You just changed everything for yourself, not me. The teachers were frozen, students were shocked, phones were still recording, and Amanda only laughed, tossing her hair as if it were all just a joke, a performance she thought she won, until the consequences she couldn't see yet began to move, one by one, like dominoes she didn't know she had just pushed over. Because what nobody in that room knew, not Amanda, not the teachers, not even Emily's father, was that Emily wasn't just some quiet transfer girl, she was the daughter of one of the most respected civil rights attorneys in the state, a man who had spent years fighting cases against schools to protect bullied and abused students, and even though Emily didn't live with him long, he taught her one thing she never forgot: you don't have to scream to win a war, just know when to strike. And her strike was coming, slow and silent, but devastating. But the real twist wasn't even that, because Emily didn't go home and complain, didn't go to the principal, didn't post online begging for sympathy. No, she went home and opened a file on her laptop filled with documents, videos, and reports that she had already been collecting for weeks, because while everyone thought she was quiet out of fear, she was actually observing the school, the bullying, the favoritism, the illegal activities, the corrupted staff who protected the rich kids, and she had enough proof to destroy not just Amanda, but the entire power structure of Ridgewood High from the inside out. And Amanda had just given her the final piece she needed: public physical assault recorded on more than 20 phones, all of which she knew would end up online within hours, and once it did, even the school board wouldn't be able to hide behind their fake, zero bullying policy. But Emily didn't just want justice, she wanted transformation, because she wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for every silent kid she had ever seen pushed into lockers, mocked for stuttering, laughed at for eating alone, and ignored by teachers who pretended to care only when the cameras were on. And yet, even now, no one knew, no one except one unexpected person. A boy named Noah Reed, a quiet straight-A student who sat in the back, who never spoke unless necessary, and who had recorded the entire slap, not to post, not to gossip, but because he saw in Emily the same loneliness he carried, and for the first time, someone had been hurt that he wanted to defend. And he was about to become the one person Emily didn't know she needed, and the one person who would change the war she had already decided to start. The video of the slap went viral within 6 hours, not just inside the school but across 3 neighboring districts, because once one student uploaded it to a private story, someone else screen recorded it, posted it to TikTok. With the caption, "Queen Bee meets karma incoming," and by the next morning, Amanda Kingsley's perfect life was cracking, though she still didn't know just how bad the storm was going to get, because in her mind, she was untouchable. Her dad funded half the school's sports program, her mom sat on the PTA board, and every teacher who ever tried to discipline her mysteriously changed their tone after a phone call. But what Amanda didn't know was that money can control a school, but it can't stop a legal system, and it definitely can't stop a girl who no longer fears losing anything. Emily walked into school the next day with the same quiet expression, but everyone else was different. Some stared with guilt, some with curiosity, some with admiration, and some, like Amanda, with fury that only comes from someone realizing the narrative had slipped out of their hands. Amanda tried to do damage control, claiming the video was edited, that Emily provoked her, that it was just a joke, but her lies only made things worse when 10 other camera angles surfaced, uploaded anonymously, and all of them showed the same thing: Amanda attacking a girl who didn't even raise a hand back. But the real explosion happened when Emily filed an official harassment and assault case, not through the school, but through the state legal office, because her father, without even speaking to her emotionally, had already stepped in professionally, sending the school a 40-page legal notice that didn't just accuse the administration of failing to protect a student, but exposed 5 years of covered bullying complaints, 3 discrimination cases, and 1 expelled student who had been paid into silence. Ridgewood High didn't just have a bully problem, it had a corruption problem, and now the state was involved. The principal called Emily into the office, trying to sound apologetic, pretending to care, offering internal mediation, but Emily simply said, "My attorney will handle everything," and walked out, leaving the adults stunned that the girl they thought was weak now held all the power. But while the school panicked, Amanda did what bullies always do when cornered: she tried to destroy Emily socially, spreading rumors that she was suing for attention, faking trauma, acting like a victim, but every lie she said only made more students turn on her, because the truth was now undeniable, recorded forever online, and Emily didn't even have to fight back. Amanda was destroying herself. Meanwhile, Noah Reed finally spoke to Emily, quietly slipping her a USB drive at lunch, saying only, "You'll want this," before walking off, and when Emily checked it later, she realized it contained not just the slap footage, but dozens of videos of Amanda and her friend group bullying other students, shoving, mocking, cornering kids in bathrooms, writing slurs on lockers, some of it as far back as freshman year, and suddenly Emily understood. Noah hadn't recorded the slap by chance, he had been collecting evidence for a long time, and she wasn't the first person who wanted to fight back, she was just the first one who could. So she did the one thing no one expected: she didn't post the videos herself, she sent them anonymously to every parent, teacher, school board member, and local journalist, and within 48 hours, Ridgewood High wasn't in a school scandal, it was in a town scandal. Parents flooded the office, reporters camped outside, and Amanda's parents demanded the school expel Emily, until they were met with a legal wall they couldn't touch. And for the first time in her life, Amanda experienced something she had never known: consequences. But the twist wasn't just Amanda's downfall, because Emily's fight wasn't about revenge anymore, it was about reform. She didn't want the school to punish one bully, she wanted to dismantle the system that allowed bullies to reign, and by the time the investigation was complete, the principal was removed, 3 teachers were placed on leave, the school board was forced to rewrite its anti-bullying policy, and a new student protection committee was created, led not by adults, but by students, and the one nominated unanimously to lead it was Emily. On the day the announcement was made, Amanda tried one last time to confront her, cornering her in the hallway like before, but this time her voice was cracked, desperate, angry in a way only a fallen queen can sound, spitting, "You think you won? You ruined my life." And Emily, calm as ever, looked her in the eyes and said the words that would follow Amanda forever: "I didn't ruin your life, Amanda, you built it on hurting people," and it finally collapsed. Amanda was expelled 2 days later. Her family tried to sue, but they failed, because the evidence was undeniable, and because there were now over 50 students willing to testify against her. Emily never celebrated, never gloated, never posted victory videos online, she simply kept walking, knowing this time the hallway wasn't a battlefield anymore. People didn't look at her with pity, they looked at her with respect, with something deeper: gratitude. Kids who once ate lunch in bathrooms now sat freely at tables. Teachers actually enforced rules. The silence in the school wasn't fear anymore, it was peace. And as for Noah, he finally sat next to Emily at lunch, and for the first time, she asked him a question instead of staying quiet: "Why did you help me?" And he simply said, "Because I was waiting for someone who could finish what I started." She smiled, the first real smile she'd shown in months, and replied, "Then let's make sure no one ever needs to start again." And in that moment, the story didn't end, it became legend, because in a world full of bullies, sometimes the strongest person isn't the one who fights back with fists, but the one who fights back with truth, strategy, and the courage to stay calm even when slapped in front of 200 people. Emily Hayes wasn't the victim they expected, she was the storm they never saw coming.